going there with a bunch of crazed dogs.
My camera. How about them Giants? How about them Giants? How about them Giants?
Giants fans, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of Draft Talk. Last week, we had the pleasure of talking to Cam Ward's high school football coach, and as that number one pick trade talk is brewing, certainly makes things more interesting. So we're glad that we could possibly bring you the head coach of the Giants' eventual first-round pick, first and foremost. Tonight, we are back to our usual slate. We are going over position group, and tonight we're going over tight ends. So, per usual, we got Truth. Truth, what's going on, man?
You can't handle the truth.
You made my golf game a lot better last week. For Giants fans out there that don't know, we actually got together for the first time in 4 years, and we actually played some golf. He gave me some lessons and pointers, and we were down in South Carolina, and it was good to get the group together.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Maybe we'll get the rest of the boys down there.
100%. Truth, let me ask you first and foremost, tight ends. This has been a pretty important position group for the Giants in terms of the help that they get at tight end to win their Super Bowls, has it not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about it. Almost every Super Bowl the Giants have been in, the tight end's been extremely valuable contribution to the team.
Yeah. This year's class isn't as talented, as deep as last year's or year before, but we do have some pretty good players here that we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. The top five guys we really do want to get into. Our special guest tonight is the host of New York Giants Rush, the founder of New York Giants Rush, ladies and gentlemen. He might be a guest on the program tonight, but we both report to him at the end of the day. Please welcome Craig. What is going on?
It's good to be the king.
Woo! What's up, boys? What's happening?
Craig, you got to tell us right now, man. Tight ends. This is your favorite group to break down, is it not?
Always is. I think this is my fourth or fifth year running. That when Truth says, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I do the tight ends, man."
Yeah.
Because, you know what? You just nailed it. Every time the Giants win a Super Bowl, they got a stud tight end.
Yeah.
And what have we done? We don't win any Super Bowls because we don't throw to the tight end anymore.
Yeah, or we get soft tight ends. Like the tight end has been pretty obsolete with the Giants. Obviously, we're all hoping Theo Johnson develops, right? We're also hoping Daniel Bellinger, might contribute something if he doesn't get cut this year. But I think that's pretty interesting. A little interesting. We got two young guys at tight end, and we're hoping for them to develop. What do you actually think the odds are the Giants get a tight end in the draft? And we'll start with you, Craig, and then we'll go to you, Truth. Think it's possible?
No.
Yeah.
No, the plan has to be built around all the things that you guys have been talking about all season, right? It's got to be built around guards, quarterbacks, tight end, cornerbacks, quarterbacks, guards, right? Realistically, if you were in line and had the draft capital to get one of the top three guys, great. But it's just not in the cards for the Giants to grab another tight end and then not use them, right? That's the issue that you run with. It's definitely best player available. These guys don't grade out very high, except for one guy, right? And then you ask yourself, even if you had him, what would you do with him? I mean, they shelved Bellinger, and then Theo got hurt. So I don't know.
Yeah, I just wouldn't expect it. Just not with the current circumstances with the Giants. First of all, as we said, it's not very loaded with talent, the tight end position, unfortunately. And they have a lot of other needs. Obviously, you got to go best player available. But even if they were doing BPA in the draft, I just don't really see a likelihood that, they're going to walk away with a tight end in that case, right? And it's one of those things with tight end. Do you need the best tight end in football? No, but when you have a really good tight end like Kelsey and Gronkowski, you see that the value that having somebody that's too fast for linebackers and too big for cornerbacks how overpowering that is for these teams. And if you could walk away with one of those guys, you have a special asset that's going to enable you to win. You know, if you don't have it, it's not necessarily the end of the world. It's not like quarterback. If you don't have a good quarterback, you're not going to win. If you don't have a good tight end, you could certainly win, but, you know, it adds a huge dynamic that can make you very difficult to stop.
Spartan, you got to slide your chair 3 inches to your right. There you go.
Sorry to blind everybody.
Like how
Why
like,
don't
I
we
feel
get
like,
right
I'm,
into it?
I feel like I
Go
was
for it.
looking into the sun.
Well, let's get right into it, all right? Because Craig, you brought some great notes on these guys, and we're going to start top to bottom because 5 of these dudes are definitely worth going into detail on. Truth, per usual, we're going to go into the guys that you think are sleepers. Unfortunately, a lot of the guys tonight are probably to be undrafted free agents, but it actually increases the likelihood any of them ends up on the Giants. So we'll go right into it. Start with the top guy, Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Craig, we'll start with you and the Truth. Want to hear your thoughts. So he is the clear-cut gem. Tell us why.
Well, this kid's a stud, like for a lot of reasons, right? One is he's huge, right? He's 6'6", 261. That's a big dude, right? Look at his overall body of work: 153 receptions, 1,800 yards, 2,000 all-purpose yards, 25 touchdowns. This guy plays the game like he's their number 1 receiver, right? I mean, he is a huge target. He just broke the Big Ten receiving record for tight ends, right? Most receiving yards ever. Like, he is a vital part of the Penn State offense. It's not like receiver 1, receiver 2, and the tight end. Like, they go at it like Kansas City does, where he's tight end. Excuse me, he's receiver 1. They're looking to use him, but he's a different kind of cat, right? He's super athletic and dynamic. He was a former high school QB. So, he can move. He's not stiff in the hips, right? I wrote these notes down, like, what can he do? Pretty much anything. Make you miss. He jumps over guys in the open field. Great hands. He can, break tackles. As you can see here on this photo, he can leap over DBs. But what I like about him, Spartan, is he's good in the short game, the long game. He runs seam routes. They throw deep to him. He runs crossing routes. They even run screens to this cat. Like, he gets after it. Look at his stats: 4 games over 100 yards. Won 2 awards, right? Won the academic Heisman, and then wound up winning the Mackey Award, best tight end in football. The only thing I can tell you is, Spartan, is he's not Brock Bowers because he's not quite as fluid, but he's a tight end 1 in an instant starter, like whoever drafts it, right? If he goes between 14 and 18, this kid's going to start day 1. My comp, I thought he plays a lot like George Kittle.
Okay. And Truth, what about your thoughts on the guy? I mean, top tight end, and I'm sure you have to agree, but what were your takeaways that makes him different from, not only this class, but maybe previous tight ends that we've covered?
Well, everything I guys up here is spot on. I will add that I like the Shockey comparison, and he is Shockey without the negative attitude that Shockey had with him. This kid is a team player. You have no problems with him off the field at Penn State. This is something that NFL teams love to see. A lot of times a quarterback would make one of their receivers better. This kid made the quarterback better. That young kid, Aller, he made him better. He brought him in the spotlight. He's a game guy. He could even go before 15. It's a possibility. He can go somewhere between 10 and 15.
Yeah, the gambling sites have his most likely team as the New York Jets. So we'll see what happens with that one. But I could definitely imagine him ending up there. But, when you just look at his overall body of work, I mean, he is a very dynamic tight end with the athletic ability that you're looking for. That would be very challenging for the linebackers to cover. And just like you said, Craig, the fact that he was used as a wide receiver 1 is what you want to see, right? The things that separate Kelsey and Gronk is that they truly were the number 1 wide receivers for those teams in the body of work that they brought to the respective teams. I used to win fantasy for a while there every year because I would get Kelsey at tight end, and because the drop-off after him was significant, you're getting 10 points a game or a week. I pretty much had another wide receiver one. But the wide receiver drop-offs aren't so significant. So that's a little besides the point, but that's what you want to see. If you can get like a true number one wide receiver out of your tight end, you walked away with something really special there.
I mean, think about it. I'm not a big PFF guy, but I know that some of our listeners are. He's ranked the 13th best college football player. That's saying a lot for a tight end.
That's a lot.
Right?
And if you watch Penn State in the playoffs, you can see why.
I'll even say this. What I thought was super cool about his game is they create these gadget plays at Penn State once in a while where they put two quarterbacks on the field at one time, right? And they'll actually have, Warren snap the ball as a center and then run a seam route, like a 30-yard seam route, and Alar passes the ball to the backup quarterback, and then the backup quarterback throws a bomb to a streaking, Tyler Warren, who's running basically a wide receiver go route, and he's open. And then when it's a contested ball, he just goes right over to the top of the safety and gets it.
Yeah.
So like he just has this, this like as True said, like he's all in. He's all in. He's going to make somebody a really great player. I don't know if he's, like I said, I don't know if he's quite Brock Bowers, because that guy just broke like almost all the tight end records there are, but he's got some similar game. I know there was I put in the notes and Truth just alluded to. He said he started watching some Shockey videos because he wanted to be more aggressive when he carried the ball. I don't think he's a Shockey-esque type of player. I think though he knows that at the next level he may need to be a little bit more physical, because he can run dudes over, but he's very good in the open field.
Yeah, and he's got room to put more size on his frame. Very athletic.
All right, well, moving on then to the number 2 guy, and we're talking about yet another potential first-round pick, but probably the later half of the draft. I could definitely see him going to Philadelphia if they plan on moving on from their tight end in the next year. Goddard, yeah. Colson Loveland. I got to be honest, I'm generally in love with the Michigan players, despite my allegiance to Michigan State. I'm not a huge fan of this guy's character, but he was a very dynamic player on the Michigan offense that was relatively anemic this past year. He cycled through like 4 different quarterbacks. All of them were pretty bad. And it was pretty impressive that, he kind of carried the team for the most part on that side of the ball. They did have their running back who's also going to get drafted, but definitely it was an impressive year, all means considered. But yeah, Truth, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on Colson Loveland?
Yeah, he's a good football player. He has good hands. He was a former basketball player, so that he has the agility. Those 50-50 plays. He's a pretty decent blocker. I wouldn't say he's a good blocker. I think what I like when I watch a couple of games of him, and I know Giant fans remember this, the seam pass. The Michigan did a lot of the seam passes with him, and that's something that I wish the Giants would do with our tight ends. I could see him, depending on how the other positions go in the first round, which we do have a lot of depth in, a few of them. He could go late first, but he could slip into the second round.
Yeah, he's right around that ballpark. Greg, what are your thoughts on him as a player and overall?
I mean, he's got as I said before, I'm a body of work guy, right? Because some guys have better junior years. When JJ was there, McCarthy was there, he had a better 2023 than he had a 2024. But the body of work is still there, 1,400 yards.
Again, quarterback contingency was awful there.
Yeah. Here's my thing about Loveland. I don't love his game because he plays like a big wide receiver.
That's fair. In fact, if you watch him play out there, you would have thought that he was a wide receiver.
Yes. He's going to get ragdolled at the NFL level because he cannot block. He's too light. He has got no leverage. Regardless of his 245, he's just not physical. Also, when the ball's in his hand, Spartan, he doesn't break tackles. He doesn't make guys miss. He's good for yak in the open field, but he's not a physical, imposing player, right? he cannot control the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Like he's not that guy. You know what I mean? Like he's like Mike Williams, right? Like he could almost drop, 10, 15 pounds and play as a wide receiver. So while he's probably the second or third most talented tight end in football, he's not a complete tight end by any stretch.
Mm-hmm.
You think that it all depends on where he goes,
Yeah.
and which team, like let's just say Kansas City, a replacement for Kelsey when he's.
I don't know. Truth, Kelsey's still a strong player, right? He'll still like mix it up and then leak out. Like Loveland just doesn't want any part of blocking. Like that's just not his game. Like he'll get literally ragdolled and thrown around, and I don't know if you can teach that. So I compared him to Evan Ingram because the Giants wanted him to be something he wasn't. He went to Jacksonville, and now he's a really good player, almost or made the Pro Bowl. I compare him more to Evan Ingram because he's like a overblown wide receiver, Mike.
I literally thought that he plays exactly like Evan Ingram. Like it's very similar, maybe a little bit more explosive, but I'm with you.
Yeah. So Spartan. I mean, so Truth. Yeah. If he goes to a team that likes to run three wides, someone that wants to go vertical with the ball, Truth, I think he fits in perfect. But anybody that wants an inline blocking tight end, it's not that cat.
Yeah. Yep.
Anything else on the dude?
I will say on the good side, what he's great at, for a 6'5" guy is, he finds like space. He's very good at sitting down, maybe breaking a route off, which, like as Truth just said, that Kelsey does that very well. I don't think Ingram did that very well, but the best tight ends tend to find space and sit down. And when they have a good relationship with their quarterback, the quarterback knows the tight end's going to break it off and sit in a hole. Loveland can if he can figure that out at the NFL level, he'll be very successful because he's very good at that, finding the soft spot. He's not a contested ball guy. You know what I mean? He's not a big 50-50 ball guy because he's not physical. But if you find somebody that's like, hey, we got a great wide receiver 1, but we don't have a great wide receiver 2. And I'm trying to think of a team off the top of my head. Arizona, they've got a great tight end, McBride.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think who. Yeah.
Craig,
just somebody that needs wide receiver 2, it could be Loveland.
Craig, you don't think his basketball background helps him with those 50-50s?
I do, but because this last year he had such crappy quarterback play, you just never saw it. Mm-hmm. And McCarthy didn't play that game with him. You know what I mean? Like McCarthy just hit him in stride, in the route. You know what I mean? At the NFL level, Mike, I don't know. Like when they bring him in and they see how quick he is and how he finds space, like again, it's kind of like Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram wasn't a great 50-50 guy. So I feel like he's more of a thoroughbred, right? Find him in space and hit him and let him go. And like I don't find him like Mark Andrews, Truth. If you throw the ball in the end zone to Mark Andrews is coming down with that ball, right? Ferguson's coming down with that ball. He's just not that guy. Like I said, maybe, you know what, another good comparison might be like, what's his name? Likely from Baltimore.
Isaiah Likely? Yeah.
He plays like a big wide receiver.
Right.
All right. Well, how about moving on then to somebody who's surprisingly small, because I actually think he plays pretty physical, but he's 6'4". He's not too short, but 230 is a little bit on the lighter side. How about Harold Fannin out of Bowling Green? So we don't get, Craig, we're just joking. We don't really get that many small school guys anymore because there's so much transfer portal activity.
Yeah.
But it's impressive when you see a guy that did stick with the program the whole time. I'm very curious to hear, Craig, what your thoughts are on him.
Dude, this guy can ball.
Yeah.
like he's really super fun to watch. I've only watched 2 complete games, but he was like, you're right. He could have transferred and went to a bigger school, hands down. Right. But look at the body of work again. You're talking about 2,400 yards. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you don't see that from a tight end. He set 21 school records. You don't see that.
No.
Now, again, it is the MAC, so some of you folks out there are going to complain that his competition, isn't great.
Well, we just saw that freaking Quinyon Mitchell go to the Eagles, and in 1 year adjusted from Toledo wide receivers to the Eagles and became an All-Pro. I mean, so I'm never doubting anybody from the MAC conference ever again.
Yeah, I like him. I think this guy can play. He might be better than Loveland. You know what I mean? Like he's right there. He's going to go in the second round. I think he's a freaking steal for somebody. Like I wrote what he can do. He can break tackles. He led all tight ends in college football with broken tackles. He's an elite route runner. I broke down for you guys. They lined him up 43% in line, 28% in the slot, 27% outside. You could put this guy anywhere. The only thing I would ask you is you have him listed at 6'4", and then the Draft Buzz guys had him listed at 6'3", which whatever I thought the Draft Buzz guys took that stat from the combine. If that's not accurate, let me know, because my first thought is there are going to be some NFL teams that shy away from a 6'3" tight end.
Yeah, he's 6'3". Double checked it.
Yeah. So I make a joke of it, what he can't, because he can do a lot, right? Great hands, beats linebackers, you see, but what he can't do is grow. If he really is 6'3", I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that there's going to be some teams that are going to be like 6'3". He might lose some opportunity of being 6'3". He's not a great blocker because he's a little bit stiff.
Sure.
Yeah. He struggled. He did well, by the way, at the Senior Bowl or the Shrine. Senior or Shrine Bowl? I can't remember which one he went to. But when he got to the combine and he had to do moving blocks, he's a little bit stiff in the hips, and his overall straight speed wasn't great. So there could be a little thing if he's 6'3" and not tall, and he can't run past linebackers, he may struggle. But I still think this guy is a really good player.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and if you look at his stat line, the stats that Craig has up here, where he lined up, just look at them, reverse some of these. In the NFL, he'll probably be a slot more than he will, obviously, in line. And you just flip these percentages. He'll be more of a slot tight end, and he might even go outside. It depends on who drafts him. But what I found interesting? They talked about the conference he was in, but when you look at his game by game, his best games were against the best teams that they played, the top 25 teams that they played. That's when he had his best games. So I think he could play at the NFL level. He had 26 plays over 20 yards in his career. I think, like you said earlier, Craig, I think this kid could be a surprise pick in round 2 for a team that's, again, the style, the offense that has to fit his style.
Yeah, it could be Miami. It could be Seattle, but he's fun to watch. I mean, he's fun to watch, and he can play. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
I think he's going to go in. What's that, Truth?
I said even once he catches the ball, he runs well. He's very elusive.
Yeah. I mean, he like I said, like the guy led all tight ends in college football with broken tackles. I mean, like that's saying a lot coming from a kid at the MAC.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at this, he is Bowling Green's first ever consensus All-American and Offensive Player in the Year, the first tight end in FBS history to earn conference and conference-wide MVP honors. Like this guy is a underrated player.
He's a gem.
He could have went out and transferred and played at where would he have been a good fit? Like he could have probably went out and played at an FCC school. SEC
How about
school.
Miami? With Ted Ward?
Yeah,
Ward.
he could have played. He definitely could have played at any SEC school. He definitely could have played at a Georgia or an Ole Miss. He definitely could have played that fast game, Florida. Right? I mean, he's going to do well. I would be shocked if he lasted at the third round.
Yeah. Well, curious to see how that one unravels, but I do expect him to be a gem, and people will look back and try to figure out who he like. Oh, I don't remember hearing about this guy that much.
I comped him to Dalton Kincaid, who went to the Bills.
Yeah. Next guy, Gunnar Hellman. It's funny. I mean, these really good teams, like Texas had a great team this past year, right? So we're going over a lot of dudes from Texas. Truth, tell me about Gunnar Helms, man. Gunnar Helms.
Well, yeah, he's a very, he's got very deceptive speed. Like you won't time well, but I watched the game. I watched the game against him against what was that? Who the heck they played in the Ohio State? Ohio State. I watched that game, and I like this kid. He's not flashy. He's not going to wow you like when you look at the other kid that we just showcased. But he's got good game. He's excellent in route running. He does all the little things that you like. I don't really remember him blocking that well, so I'm not going to say he's a good or bad blocker. I didn't really take notice of that. So if you know that, Craig, you could tell me. But I think what I'm looking at, I see a comp. You got him at a 4th round. I think that's kind of fair enough. He could go late 3rd, but I think that's pretty fair grade on him.
3rd?
Yeah, 4th, 3rd, yeah. Late 4th, okay. Late 3rd, 4th round, yeah.
It is funny how much things drop off, like, pretty quickly here with the tight ends, right? Because now we're already in the 3rd round. With D tackles, we haven't done it yet, but we might need to just go live for the entire day for that one. What about you, Craig? You like Gunnar Helm?
So I like him, but I like him in a different way. He seems to be like a late bloomer, right? Like, because he only had one really good year at Texas. His, this past year, 79 receptions, 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Like, he just kind of popped on the scene, right? So I feel like he's a little bit. He was a John Mackey semifinalist, right? They say he's the 6th best tight end in college football, but his body of work's not great, and I just feel like maybe he's just a little bit of a late bloomer, right? Because if you look, he's got a total of 1,000 yards over 3 years. This year, 58 receptions, 744 yards, 7 touchdowns. So he had a real nice year, but he doesn't really have this body of work. So, like, I'm kind of thinking he's going to be a better pro than he is a college player, and I think he's going to be a little bit of a project where in year 2 or 3 he kind of pops, because here's a couple things to rest on. He's got super reliable hands. He had only 2 drops during his whole college career, right? And that's 79 receptions. He caught 77 balls out of 79 balls, right? He's actually, as Schutz said, he's kind of deceptive, right? He actually runs really, really good routes, for a guy who's 6'5", right? And I put a 3 up there. I messed it up. It says 328 pounds. He is not, my friends, 328 pounds. He is 238 pounds. The 2 and the 3 are reversed.
I'm gonna say draft him immediately.
That's a bull for a tight end, baby.
Exactly. But he's pretty good after the catch. He can make guys miss, right? His biggest issue is he's just not polished. I think if somebody, grabs this guy in the 4th round, kind of like Bellinger was. I mean, I do really think his game is like Ferguson, who was that Wisconsin guy that the Cowboys drafted. I don't think he's quite as good as Ferguson, but he's a guy that needs to be developed. They need to give him a chance because, again, he feels like a little bit of a late bloomer. On the negative side is he's not very physical at the point of attack, and he tends to like stalk block like a wide receiver does. And in the NFL, when your hands are extended, you're going to get called for holding, right?
Yeah.
You know how they are. They got to be in here under the shoulder pads, in tight. He has a tendency to want to block guys like this, like stalk block. And if you're a tight end and you're getting caught stalk blocking a defensive end, they're going to call you for holding. So I think with Helm is higher ceiling, right? I think he's got room to grow. I think you need to, like if you had a guy, like I'll give you an example. He'd be great on Detroit because your head coach is a tight end, right?
Yeah.
Like he you know what I mean? And they've got, who do they got? Laporta, right?
Yeah. Laporta, yeah.
If you could find a team for him that's got a really good tight ends coach, a good offensive-minded coach that likes tight ends, like he'll grow. But if you send him to a team that nobody gives a crap about tight ends, he may never develop. So, a team that just has an offensive head coach, or maybe they've got a really good tight end room, tight end 1, tight end 2, because he definitely needs to learn from guys that have been in the league, work on his blocking and stuff. But I think he could be a good pro. I think he's, like I said, I think he's like a 4th round pick, and he'll play ball in the pros. Like he'll do well.
Sure. So how about, and this is the last guy we have slides on, guys, and then we're just going to go through the dudes from there. And reminder, I will be off air in 12 minutes, from which point Craig will carry on. Truth has a lot of homework done on all these other players that we don't have slides on, so we'll go from there. But Caden Price-Corn out of Ole Miss, another program this year that's been producing a lot of talented players, and here's another one. So, Craig, let's start it with you. What are your thoughts on him?
I mean, he's an anomaly to me a little bit, right? Because he's 26 years old. He played 3 years at Memphis where he looked great. He played 2 years at Ole Miss. He's already 26. And then, yes, he was a John Mackey semifinalist in 23. He had a better 23 than 24. But I'm not sure he gets drafted. If he does, he's going to be a late 6th, early 7. He's a very good blocker. He's definitely a check down option, right? He crushed it in the Peach Bowl in 2023. But again, he doesn't have any top line speed, right? He's kind of a limited route runner. So, Price-Corn is more, to me, is like you're looking for that Bear Pascal guy that can, come in there and hold down the end of the line, and then maybe you leak him out in the flat here and there. I think he just might be a little bit on the slow side for the NFL. He's not going to beat a lot of linebackers. But at 255, 6'6", they put 10 pounds, 15 pounds of muscle on him. He's a big, good blocking tight end.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be like Bear Pascal. You just gave that 6'5", 270. That's what he was.
Right? So he's got some, I mean, again, he may not get drafted, or he's going to go late 6, 7. But, good guy. Like, I put in here, he's a dad already. He's got a little guy who's basically like, it's kind of cool. If you watch the Ole Miss locker room, his little guy's running around with all the players, and his little son has got 100 uncles. So seems like a good guy, locker room guy. Definitely not like this dynamic, explosive player, but for a late round guy, I'm sure he'll work, and I'm sure again, he definitely can play special teams. He definitely could be your inline blocker.
Yeah, I mean, I see based on. No, I was saying that based on the rest of the draft, other positions and other depth, I can see this guy not getting drafted, UDFA, but he's got something to play for, or something to like you just said, he's a father. 26-year-old got his head on straight. He could stick around on the practice squad and finally get his chance. Just like we know as Giant fans, that's how Dan Campbell, that's how Bear Pascal, those guys had great careers, and they just done it by working hard and just sticking their nose to the grindstone. So this is what I see. I see a version of this guy like those guys were.
All right, that does it for the slides. Now we're just going raw. Just trust us. Just go. You don't have to go look up what he looks like. Look, I want to go right to the Miami dude, certainly, before I leave. Elijah Arroyo. So huge asset for Cam Ward down at Miami, and he was a pretty physical wide receiver. I liked him a lot with his level of play. I actually think he could be a gem. Would he be a top 10 tight end? No, but I actually do think he can be a starter and be a pretty effective one. Truth, what are your thoughts on him?
I think he gets overlooked a little bit, and of course he played with a dynamic quarterback in Cam Ward, in their offensive system they ran. But the kid is really good. He can play. He did well against the zone. Did well against man to man. He's got good hands. He's a good athlete. I looked at some film on him and tried to see how his blocking was. He's a willing blocker. That's the best I can say about him. I wouldn't put him down as a good blocker. but he's not afraid to stick his nose in there, and perhaps maybe they could work with him, make him a better blocker in the NFL if he's willing to do it. He did have some history with injuries. I think it was his knee, if I'm not mistaken. I forget which knee it was, but he had issues with his knee. But it seemed not to be a big issue this year. But I mean, I can see this kid going somewhere, maybe late two, somewhere definitely on day two, late in late in day two. That's what I would say with him.
Okay. What about you, Craig? You weren't too high on him?
No, I like him, but I like him because of Cam Ward, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so like you said, True said before when we were talking about, Alar, what do you call it? Made Alar better, right? When we're talking about Warren makes Alar better. I think Ward makes Arroyo much better. So I'm kind of, I mean, again, he's got 6'4", 250, a little light, right? But they're going to put some weight on him. And I think because Miami's a funny team, I mean, it's just a funny team. So, I think it's going to depend on where he goes. But I know I still like him, but I'm wondering if let's say Loveland had no quarterback and succeeded, would Arroyo succeed if he went to a bad team? Because some of these guys go to bad teams.
It's funny that you bring that up. I used to totally be on that side, and that was actually my biggest concern with Malik Neighbors last year. I'm like, well, he had a top pick. There's another wide receiver there. Like, I feel like this guy had it easy. Holy crap! I'm never saying it again. I'm just like, all right, if they played well and they had a good quarterback, then they I'm not discounting it anymore. But I still it's still in the back of my mind that it could be a possibility that it affects him, right?
Well, again, I'm only just wondering. Like I said, to me is. What's his game going to look like the next level? We're not going to know. I still think the guy is. I mean, Truth. Where did you have him projected in the 4th round?
I had him going late day 3. Late day 3. It could fall into the 4th round. Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, you could look throughout history. 4th round tight ends are very prominent in the NFL. So. I think he's going to get drafted, and I think he's going to. I don't know if he'll start year 1, but he's definitely an NFL player. It's not like it's a stretch.
Yeah, no. I think he can get to the level of being if Gesicki. I think he'd be my Gesicki. I think he's got the capability to be of that level, but he's not going to be Kelsey, obviously, No.
I mean, look, it's not also too, I'm sure you have on your list here. I don't know where you want to list him, but you got Leahy on here, who's an Iowa product. And Iowa that's all they do is turn tight ends.
They're a factory. And Kittle was a 5th round Iowa. Think about
Miami. Yeah. And Miami used to be the tight end factory.
Yes, we capitalized on it, baby. Yep. We got one.
Yeah. Now it's Iowa. So and I can't tell you sit here that I watched Iowa's games this year. I did not.
I don't think you get them too often in South Jersey.
Yeah. But they are Big Ten, and I do watch Big Ten Network, but I mean, Iowa just not to jump the ship on you guys. I don't know if you had him coming up or not, but they just
let's go to him right now. Let's
sorry. All right. Yeah. I didn't mean to take over. I just meant that.
You will have to take over here in about 4 minutes.
Yeah. Just think about it. What I mean, Iowa revolves their offense around tight ends. That's their thing.
It's a factory. They literally just piss out tight ends that ball out at the next level, no matter what round they're drafted.
So this guy to me, just because he knows that system. Think about it. He's gone through all those tight ends the last 4 years were in front of him. When he was a freshman, there were 3, maybe 4 NFL tight ends in front of him.
Yeah. I mean, there was that one draft too. The Iowa had 2 guys go in the 1st round. One dude went to Denver. He didn't really amount to that much, but the other guy went to the other guy was good with Michigan, with Hawkinson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hawkinson and Noah Fant. That's what it was.
Yep. Yeah, these guys all when Leahy was a freshman, these guys were all juniors and seniors. So
right.
I'm expecting, and again, it's kind of like Laporta. Laporta was tight, like for college football, Laporta was like tight end 5, and he turned out to be, if not the best tight end, the second best tight end in the draft. I think this guy's got an outside chance of being a better pro, even though he was a good college player, just because something about those Iowa tight ends.
No, I get it. I like the Iowa tight ends.
Yeah, good player. Yeah. Good size, good athlete.
So
Everything
we're
Craig
kind of
says.
sorry, Truth, you're a little delayed, so I'm never trying to cut you off. It sounds like I am though.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Is my internet bad with you guys?
It could be mine for all I know. But here's the thing, guys. I actually do have to wrap up and roll right now. Craig, I should be able to exit out, and you should be able to take control. If there's an issue, send me a message, okay?
Yeah, no problem. I got Zach in the background there.
Okay. All right, guys.
All right,
Zach, hit the Spartan exit.
This is Sparta!
Love it.
He might have the best one.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
pretty good.
He's got the best one, without a doubt. So, where what do you like about Leahy? What do you like about him?
Oh, a lot of stuff that you said. I just think he's got a good reputation for being a hard worker, a leader on the field, and that's something that goes a long way with NFL teams. When they look at these young men, very reliable blocker, and that goes on along the lines of Iowa tight ends. It's like a tradition. You all better be able to block somewhat, and like I said, he's got good hands. He's reliable, and I agree with you. I think if he goes to the right team, I think you can see this kid get some snaps even as a rookie, and contribute to the team.
I've just gotten to a point now where I'm never looking down at an Iowa tight end, even if he starts off slow. These guys just get it. They just get it. So whoever picks up Leahy, I mean, like, did you have him as a third rounder or a fourth rounder? Because that's kind of
I actually had him sliding into day 3.
Okay.
Based on a lot of other positions that were very deep.
Yeah, I could definitely see him making an impact for a team, if not year 1, definitely year 2.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, where do you want to go from there?
You can pick whoever you want. Whoever he has on the list.
Yeah, I don't. That's fine. We can go Utah. So I don't know anything about Utah football. All I know is this cat's not very big. So like and I love Utah lacrosse, but Utah football, I gotta say, like, you're gonna have to tell me about this guy, because at 6'2", 232, to me, that's a kid that wants to play. That's gonna have to play special teams, because in the NFL you can't pay tight end at that size.
Yeah, well, you're actually summarizing it pretty well right now. When I did watch a little bit about this kid, I didn't watch a lot of Utah, but I did watch some game film on him, and he was very versatile. They move him on the outside, they put him in the slot. He runs good routes, he runs the ball well, yards after the catch, he does a good job. And I agree with you. I think this kid, if he's going to make it in the NFL, he's going to be a special teamer. He's going to be and do it on a special team. And that's why
I'm not knocking him, and I'm not knocking that he played at Utah. I'm just saying that I don't know. Again, Utah lacrosse, I can talk to you about Utah lacrosse. Utah football, I cannot. But what I can tell you is there's not a tight end in the NFL at 6'2", 232.
No.
I mean, that's like a small linebacker.
Yeah, and I actually see him probably going to be a UDFA. Again, I can see that with him.
That makes a lot of sense. You know what, hey, dude, you live out your dreams playing college football at the D1 level. That's awesome. Wanting to go to pros is not easy when, you know what I mean, when you're just a little bit vertically challenged. It's just not easy. But you can make a living playing special teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Notre Dame, since they had such a great year. Mitchell Evans, big dude, 6'5", 258. He just turned 21, so he's a young pup. Some of these guys are already 20.
Young guy, right?
Yeah, I'm always amazed. Like some of these guys, they get drafted, they're 22, 23, 24. He literally turned 21 like 2 weeks ago. So he's young.
Yeah. Very young, but he's got some talent. And, for his size, when I watch the games, very deceptive. He seems to get open. Kind of like, I'm not saying he's Kelsey, but Kelsey, when he runs and does his route running, he looks like he's, like lugging along, but he gets open. And that's what this kid does. And he's got good hands, catches the ball away from his body, which I like when I watch him receive, especially my tight ends. I like to see him catch the ball away from their body. And he's fearless over the middle. I saw a lot of plays where, what's his name? The quarterback for Notre Dame, Riley Leonard. Yeah. I saw a lot of plays where they had this guy doing quick seams and short seam routes and little button hooks up in the middle, and he catches the ball in traffic, and he take a hit. So
that's a great point, because that's what I was going to say was I've probably seen about 4, maybe 5 Notre Dame games, and what sticks out to me about Evans is the contested balls, right? Like, definitely catch the ball in traffic, definitely has a knack, for 50-50 balls. Like, he's definitely, tough at the point of attack. Pretty good body control for such a big guy. And he's not a bad run blocker, right?
No.
I mean, he's not a run block. I mean, like, again, Notre Dame is stacked. They got a lot of great people at a lot of positions. He's not overly athletic for a 6'5", 258 guy. And his route running is like, okay, he's not going to blow by you. The only thing, I guess, with Evans is he has some injuries. You hope he's past that now, right? I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he missed so if he's a senior, so he missed a big part of his sophomore/junior year with an ACL tear and a broken foot. If I'm not mistaken, he broke his foot when he was a sophomore, and then I think he got healthy and came back and then blew his ACL. So he's if he can get past those injuries, I don't know if he gets drafted. I don't know if he's that guy. There will be some teams that take a chance on a Notre Dame player, right? For playing in that
size, that age.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
But good run. I think he's a good inline run blocker. I think he's, again, my biggest thing for Evans is he's really good. His forte is 50-50 balls and catching the ball in traffic. He's not afraid to take a hit. But again, if there is some lingering concern about playing time, because he missed a lot of time with an ACL on a foot, he may not get drafted because he just needs more time to grow. But I do like Evans. I'm not sure he gets drafted, or if he does, he might be a 7th round guy.
Yeah, late day 3. Yep. I agree.
I mean, if you all remember, if you Notre Dame fans, I mean, when he went to Notre Dame, he was the primary backup to Michael Mayer, who got drafted 2 years ago. So, he was sitting behind one of the best tight ends that Notre Dame ever had. So it wasn't his fault that he didn't get on the field, but, when he got on the field and he looked good, and then what happened? Boom, broke his foot. Then he came back ready to contribute, blows an ACL. So, I think Evans might be one of these guys that just, if he's healthy for a couple of years, he may surprise some folks.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's move on to, what do we say we go to? I think we got a couple more that, that you're more familiar with, but how about Mason Taylor at LSU? I mean, LSU is a high potent offense every single year.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Mason Taylor?
He another hand catcher. A lot of these guys I saw when I watched film on them. I watched a lot of these games because of the quarterback on LSU, and this kid is very reliable. Another good, Nussmeier, and this guy, another good route runner. He's like a very smart, crafty. Finds the soft spots out in zone. and finds his little nook there. He moves the change. He's not going to go vertical on you. He ain't a big guy, big yak guy after the catch. Just good enough to move the chains and be a reliable tight end. That's how I see him. I see a late day 3 pick on him, and someone who can play in the NFL but be a part of the tight end group. I don't think I'm a star, but I could see a guy getting snaps and being part of the team at the tight end position.
So let me look this up for a second, because if I'm not mistaken, I thought he was a transfer. I thought I could be wrong.
Probably not. There's so many of them now in today's game.
Yeah, I thought he was a. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. I mean, he's been here 3 years. First, I was just looking up his bio to see if. No, I guess he's been there for he's been there for 3 years. I mean, his stats, right? So 22-23, 400 yards, 23-24, 348 yards, 24-25, 546 yards. He's got a total of 6 touchdowns. I mean, he's like meat and potatoes for a high flying offense. They don't really use the tight end like they do their wide receivers.
No, they got wide receivers there. They don't use a tight end for that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a tight end and you go to LSU, you might want to think twice because they're not throwing you the ball. I mean, again, 38 receptions, 36, 55, like 129 receptions isn't terrible, but again, all low yards, right?
Right.
He's got in 3 years, he's got 1,300 yards, and only 6 touchdowns. It interesting though, like I said, because they're a high flying offense. Again, when you got the offensive prowess that LSU has, and you don't throw to the guy again, he might turn out to be a better pro.
Could be.
Some of these guys just don't get utilized because they got a bunch of money to play out of school, and then they don't throw the ball the way you thought they were gonna. I'm just trying to check out to see if he's technically a junior. Let's see, LSU dad. Here you go. Here's something for you. The LSU's tight end's dad, Jason Taylor, is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and former University of Akron, Ohio. So, his uncle is Zach Thomas, the old linebacker from Miami.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So his dad, let's see, LSU tight end's dad is Jason Taylor, the Pro Football Famer and the former University Akron great. And his uncle is Zach Thomas. Is that possible? Wow, that's cool.
Probably uncle I don't think by blood. You're talking about Jason Taylor for the Dolphins?
I'm just reading what it said. It says Mason Taylor, who he's related to. I'm going to keep looking to make sure that's right. Mason Taylor. Let's see. Maybe it's a different Mason Taylor.
You mean Jason Taylor?
No, the kid is Mason Taylor. Maybe he's related to a different Jason Taylor. I'm just looking at to see if I can, because I didn't really watch a lot of LSU games, but I'm going to check that out. If anybody knows, throw it in the chat. Oh wait, there's some. Maybe there's there. I think Jason Taylor's are related through marriage. There you go. See,
there you go.
Old coming through strong.
I was trying to look at it. I thought maybe my eyes were deceiving me when you said that.
No, he does not look like Jason Taylor. In fact, it's funny because when I look at the kid's head, if you remember, Zach Taylor had that square-looking head.
Yes, Jason Taylor. Yeah,
yeah, his kid's got the same square head. Like I'm just like, dude, what he does? He does look like Zach Taylor. Funny. Yeah. Again, guy got hurt. Some of these guys, I think become like the, what do you call it? Like we just talked about from Notre Dame. I think Zach's married to Jason. Oh, there you go. Cole says that Zach is married to Jason Taylor's sister.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
Yeah. But I think some of these guys have a potential to be better pros, right? I always say that about Ferguson out of Wisconsin didn't get a lot of love because he was from Wisconsin, but he looks great on the Cowboys. I think some of these guys, just need to get to a system that throws the ball, We're the opposite, where Dalton Kincaid was a stud in college, and then, he gets to Buffalo, and they don't really throw to the tight end a whole lot, right? They already got Knox. Yeah. They add on Dalton Kincaid. You think they're going to crush it, and they're very good tight ends, but they don't throw them the ball that much. Then you could flip it over to, look at Baltimore. Baltimore's got 2 stud tight ends with Likely and Andrews, and and Lamar throws them the ball. So it really is a system thing, right? We know Baltimore uses the tight end. We know Dallas uses the tight end. Some of these cats got to go to the right team. All right, Oregon. Let's bring Oregon in here. I mean, again, I don't watch a lot of Oregon football.
Yeah, very generic here. When you look at some of these guys, they're very similar. Like this guy, Terrence Ferguson's kind of like a Mason Taylor. They're very similar in the way they play the game. Reliable, good hands, good backer with the Oregon team. The Oregon system, the way they play, they get the ball out quick mostly to the wide receivers. So this guy's stat line was not very impressed. Only 43 catches. It wasn't like wow, but he's a good, reliable player. Sometimes I did see him do vertical plays, go deep, do long seams, but kind of like in the same breath as Taylor and Evans, like same type of tight end we're looking at,
Yeah, some of these high-powered offenses just don't throw to the tight end.
Yep, that's true. It's the game's changed, right? It's mostly they want big plays, so the wide receivers is very valuable. If you look at a lot of programs now, how many, especially Spartan, when we did the wide receivers, we had multiple wide receivers on the same team in our top 15. So that's how it's going in college football.
This next guy, and by the way, Ferguson is a little bit interesting because he's actually quite quick, right? I mean, he ran a 4.6 40. That's pretty fast for a 6'5" guy.
It is.
So
it is. That's why I noticed in this system he do verticals. Yeah, vertical routes with him.
When for a guy like Ferguson, again, and they had a pretty dynamic quarterback, but smaller guy. Ferguson can run by linebackers, right? I mean, he's got 4.6 straight line speed, and then he set a bunch of records, for receptions by a tight end at Oregon, and and they've had some decent tight ends over the years. So, I mean, I don't know. The only thing I remember about Ferguson is that he had an emergency appendix surgery, so he missed a couple games. I remember this past year, they were did the guy die? What happened? I mean, he had emergency surgery to take his appendix out. So I remember that. But on another note, I think a guy like Ferguson, again, because of his speed, he might fit in with more of a Miami offense. Yeah. Somebody that something that's just gonna have a little bit more throttle to it. Now Syracuse, I mean, again, I definitely don't go out of my way to watch any Syracuse football, but because McCord is the quarterback there, this guy, Gatson may get a little bit more love because McCord did have such a great year. What's your thoughts on Gatson?
Well, that's a good point. Like we said earlier about Warren, having Kyle McCord as your quarterback did help this kid numbers. I don't go crazy about the stat line. I really don't. I mean, this kid had 73 receptions, under 1,000 yards. So he had a good year, but he is a pretty good tight end. He needs to get a little bigger. I don't see him as an inline tight end in the NFL. He's not a very good blocker. I see him more in the slot, and that's not a bad thing. It depends where he goes in the NFL. He's got good hands. He adjusts well to the ball. I saw him with the Syracuse offense. They did a lot of vertical plays with him. So I could see him being see, I didn't know that. Thank you, Cole. So his dad was a former NFL wide receiver. So that's something.
Yeah. I remember his dad was I think his dad might have played at like Miami or Jacksonville. I can't remember, but I do remember his dad.
Yep, and this kid has good speed too. But the only thing that hurt him, you mentioned injuries. He had a foot injury that bothered him pretty bad, and then is his first year being a tight end, so he's kind of raw at the position. So he could be a tweener for all we know.
Yeah, and a lot like Loveland, you know what I mean? Like, which again, I'm not a fan, but like that cat's not going to block an inline blocker. They're going to get ragdolled at the line of scrimmage. But Gadsden reminds me of Mike Williams, right? Like a really big wide receiver. So he could get converted, right? The Syracuse may just have wanted him to play tight end because of how stinking athletic the kid is, but he can probably go out and catch 6 balls a game. You know what I mean? For Carolina. You know what I mean? Like, because, again, you can't teach height. So, the guy did have, he almost had 2 years of 1,000 yards receiving. In 22, he had 969 yards, and then he got hurt. And then 2024, another 934 yards. So he could catch. That's not an issue. He's just a little bit light in the ass. So, like, he may – either, hey, don't get me wrong. The NFL programs can put 10 pounds, 15 pounds of muscle on you.
Yeah,
but you may be better off going and converting. Like, remember Jimmy Graham? Jimmy Graham playing for the Saints. Jimmy Graham played for Seattle. And Jimmy Graham said, hey, I make wide receiver catches. I play like a wide receiver. I want to get paid like a wide receiver. You know, and the NFL shot him down on that because he's designated as a tight end. So a guy like Gadsden, if he's as good as we think he can be, he might want to change positions now.
Yeah.
Getting paid like a wide receiver is very different than getting paid like a tight end.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I do like him. Like I said, if they can think of him as more of like a Mike Evans, I like him. You know what I mean? Like, especially like I said, I'm sure he got a face full of opportunity with McCord. So, he's a guy that I think I actually think Gadsden, and we talked about what do you call before. I like Gadsden better than Arroyo. I think he's more athletic than Mitchell Evans at Notre Dame that we just talked about. It's they happen to have both those guys, Arroyo 250, Evans 258. They just happen to have more weight on them.
Yeah.
So where Evans from Notre Dame and Arroyo from Miami stay at tight end, Gadsden may be best to be moved to wide receiver, and he could totally crush it.
But isn't that how big is Isaiah Likely? He's not more than 235 pounds, right?
He wasn't when he got drafted, but he plays at 240 now.
Oh, is he? And how is he 6? How tall is he?
Yeah,
6'3",
I think Likely is like 6'3.5", maybe 6'4".
Okay.
I can look it up. But I do know for a fact he was very light, Mike, when he went into the NFL. But I'm like 90% sure he's playing at like 238, 240. But I'll look it up.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking about this kid, getting to a program, NFL, that, put a good conditioning program. He could put another 10 pounds on.
Baltimore's got him listed, Mike, at 6'4", 247.
Wow. I don't know if he is that heavy. Maybe he is.
Well, he might be now. He might not have come out of college because out of college he was thin and fast.
Yeah, I don't remember him being that big in college. But yeah, so that's a good argument that we always say that the NFL can make you bigger and stronger with their conditioning.
Yeah,
program.
like I said, and Likely still plays tight end, but he could play a hybrid tight end because they got Andrews to play the bigger inline blocker, seam routes, and we know how good Andrews is, but we also know how good Likely is because he can play outside or slot or outside.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, we only got a couple more, Mike. Let me see. I think we might have maybe 3 more on here. Let's talk about the last tight end out of UCLA, I was really high on, and he bombed. And then the Giants actually signed him this year. So tell me about Matavo, because he is tall and he is big.
Big boy, yeah, big body,
Yeah.
impressive. He is athletic for his size. Basically, with UCLA, I try to like more like a vanilla. If you want to talk about a flavor of the month, he was like a vanilla. He was very dangerous in the red zone. Moves the chains, not going to kill you in the vertical, not going to break tackles and run for a lot of yards after the catch. Not elusive, just a typical move the chains kind of tight end. And when I watched some of the tape on him, for his size, it didn't impress me. His blocking. You talked about before someone blocking with their arms out too much, and that's kind of what he does.
What's his name from
lunges and leans? Yeah,
that's Helm from Texas, where he kind of stalk blocks, and then at the NFL level, if they see you extend your arms, they're going to throw you out for a holding call.
Yeah, so maybe they can work with him with his technique for blocking, because he is big. He will need to improve that. And his tree routes are not very, it's got limited. I would say they're very limited. So I got him another late 7 UDFA.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because Greg Dulwich was the guy I was thinking of. Got drafted 6'4", 245, a little lighter than Matavo, and he was a 3rd round pick in 2022, just 2 years ago, and he's already be faded out on the Broncos. I don't know if maybe Russell Wilson killed his career, but and then they cut him, and the Giants actually picked him up. I think he's on the Giants practice squad right now.
Yeah, they still are. Yeah, the Giants have I think 4 tight ends currently on their roster, and you know what? The remaining guys are all UDFAs. We don't have to cover them, Craig, but I would want to talk about the Giants. Their tight ends. They got 4 guys, and I'm very inquisitive to know what they're going to do with Bellinger. I know you like him. I like him. It seems like they forgot about him once they got Waller, and then last year totally forgot about him. I don't know what's going on with him. I know he's going to be paid $3 million this year. So you would think they're going to have to make a decision. Are they going to give him the opportunity to play him, or are they going to waste $3 million on the bench?
Well, okay, so Giants tight ends are baffling on numerous levels. Let's just start with the first thing. You got Bellinger. You brought him in. He played great out of the gate. You were thinking, okay, this guy is going to be a really nice – he's not going to be a top 10 tight end, but he's gonna help the Giants, right? He's going to be, listen, what people don't realize is Jeremy Shockey might have been the 2nd best tight end, 3rd best tight end in Giants history. He still was an 800 to a 900 yard reception guy, you know what I mean? And he made the tough catches, but they didn't throw the ball like they do now, right? So you didn't have a tight end with 1,000 yards receiving, right?
Right.
So Bellinger, to me, if the guy had 700 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns, I was happy. The guy breaks his eye socket. Right? Literally against Jacksonville, guy stuck his finger in his face mask and broke his eye socket. And then the guy's out and the guy comes back. And you basically forget about it. He gets shelled, and I don't know why. Because I don't young guy, good guy, team guy. Then they trade for Waller, and you trade for Waller because you need to trade for Waller. Top 3 tight end for a period of time, and you're like, you know what? How can I pass this up? But then Waller's always hurt. And then, and you're still not, and the offense still doesn't throw to the tight end, Mike. It's foolish, and it's silly, and it makes no sense, and it's short-sighted, because all the great teams in the NFL make it a point to throw to the tight end. Lamar Jackson throws to the tight end. Pat Mahomes throws to the tight end. right? Josh Allen throws to the tight end, not as much as you'd like, but he's got 2 tight ends. So the interesting thing, Mike, is I have no idea what they're doing with Bellinger, and I have no idea why he got shelved. But here's the wild card.
Yeah.
I like Theo Johnson like everybody else does. But if you look at the body of work, they did not throw the ball to him at Penn State. He was not a pass-catching tight end. Kenny, yes.
No.
Does he have good hands? Yes. But when I compare Bellinger to Theo Johnson, Bellinger was a better college tight end. So I don't really know. And I don't have a preference whether it's both of them, if it's Theo or Bellinger. We did interview Bellinger. It's on the Giants YouTube channel if you guys want to check that out. He's a good guy. Theo seems like a good guy. But, Mike, either way, even if Dulwich I don't think is going to stick around. I really don't. But either way, we don't throw to the tight end. And there's no reason why they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. Like you said, and you've had guests on, and none of those guys know why.
Yep.
When we talk about it with them. So I don't know. There's a kid I think that if he goes somewhere else, it could benefit him to get away from New York.
You're talking about Bellinger?
I just don't. Yeah. I don't understand. How he got out of favor with them. Even though they had Waller, you still in this league, you got to have 2 tight ends a lot of times. He's a better blocker than Waller. And I don't understand why he's not being utilized, like he was his rookie year.
Yep. And by the way, look, Theo looked pretty good last year. He did have some big drops, but he's a rookie and he's going to get better. So regardless of what they do, to me, I think they're better off keeping both of them because they both can catch the ball. I think Bellinger's a little bit better at yak than Theo is, right? I think Bellinger's a better blocker than Theo is. I think they're both valuable, and I want them both to stay. But like you said, I'm sure Bellinger wants to start, and I'm sure he wants to get the ball thrown to him. So, there could be a conversation to trade him, or again, he's got value. So if he didn't want to be here, trading him would be great. Package him up. Letting him just walk doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, and they're going to keep probably 3 tight ends normally. So
yeah,
I said you don't think the other would be the guy. So Manhurst is probably going to come back again, who's probably the best blocker.
That guy's a man child. The size of that guy.
I know.
Guys, I mean, he's got to be 6'7". The guy's enormous. So, but hey, look, I love talking about the tight ends.
But
he's a big man. I love talking about the tight ends just because I pine away from the all the great tight ends that they've had. I mean, throughout history, it's been Bavaro and Shockey and. It's been Howard Cross and it's been, Zeke Mowat. We've always had great tight ends. Bennett, we even had some two good years out of Bennett. I mean, for whatever reason, they just got away from throwing it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yep. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I still have a funny feeling though in the UDFA phase. I think they might grab a tight end. I don't know why I'm thinking that.
Well, I mean, personally, I think I'm with you on the offensive line, getting the guard. I'm a big believer in getting a defensive tackle. I'm a big believer in signing in free agency, signing a cornerback, signing a veteran quarterback. So, yeah, you could have room for another tight end, but there's a lot more needs.
UDFA, not during free agency.
Oh yeah.
I mean the UDFA. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I agree with you though. I mean, the priority is getting quarterback and corner and defensive line. Yeah, absolutely. Guard. Absolutely.
Somebody will get themselves. I mean, right now, as we spoke about, like Tyler Warren, Loveland. Again, not my favorite, but Loveland, and I think Fannon's just a cool player. You know what I mean? At a Bowling Green, his big thing is his height. at 6'3" is a little bit. But I still think that, Warren, Loveland, and Fannin are all going to be a first round and second round pick. So those guys definitely not as deep as it's been the last couple of years, but I don't see the Giants taking a tight end, but whoever gets Warren's going to get a day one starter. Whoever gets Loveland and Fannin, they're going to get definitely a starter in year 2, but maybe year 1, depends. Again, Loveland's not a blocker. Fannin's got to, work on a couple things, but I think Warren, Loveland, and Fannin are your top 3 tight ends, and I think they will go in the first and second round.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
All right, Truth. What do you got next? What do you got next week? What are you covering?
Oh, we got the best. We got defensive line next week with Mark Thompson. He'll be our guest.
Love it.
And Spartan said, we're gonna have to bring in. You might have to cover 25, top 25. Yeah. This is very deep.
It is very deep. There are 20 defensive tackles that are getting drafted in the first, second, and third round this year. There is no doubt in my mind that 20 of your 25 are going to go, or even if I'm being conservative, 15 of your 25 are going to get drafted in the first, second, and third round.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hopefully Giants will be one of those teams on day 2 to get one, right?
Listen, if the Giants don't get a defensive tackle in the second round or the third round, I'm going to cry. Because you can't expect Okereke and McFadden to do their job if they don't have some big boys up front to keep them clean.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, folks. So next Wednesday, Truth and Spartan Mike, with a special guest, Mark Thompson, going to be covering defensive tackles. Tune in there. Monday, we'll have Giants Rush at 8:00, and I'm still working on either Paul Dottino or I'm working on Brandon Tierney, still working on those guys. I did send a note out to McFadden to see if he was around. I haven't heard back from him. I sent a note to Tiki Barber. I haven't heard from him. So I am working on a couple things for you guys, as we get closer to the opening of free agency. And so appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We'll see you guys next week.
Later, boys.